Shalom, my Hebrews and Shebrews. This is Oilfield Disciple. Beautiful day this morning the Lord has given us, and we must wake up every morning and believe that. We got a lot going on around us this day and time. It's the third time I've tried to make this video, so that's why I'm kind of stumbling a little bit starting it off. All right, we have a little bit of a game changer here. Um, Now, initially, I kind of blew the severity of this coronavirus. I'd kind of blown it off as, you know, we went through this time and time again, you know, throughout the years. Every couple of years, one of these global killers comes through here. One of the analysts that I listened to, who's quite credible, talked about some things yesterday, and so I went and done some research, and I actually looked this up, and I didn't realize this, that coronavirus is a type of flu, and it's been around for a long time. But this COVID-19 is a very specific type of coronavirus, um, and it attacks the respiratory system of the 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 individual that it attacks. And the issue is the same thing that happened to the indigenous people of the land here in America when the Europeans first came over here, and the Europeans introduced the indigenous people to all sorts of diseases that they had never had to deal with. So their immune system, their bodies, um, didn't have any antibodies to fight it off, and it liked to wipe out the entire indigenous people. It was a huge death toll on them. Um, Simple viruses that the Europeans they didn't have no issue with. That's what we're facing today. Okay, so with that, um, I've made the claim already that we will probably see quarantines in certain areas. And we are. I have a brother that lives in the San Francisco Bay Area, and as of midnight last night, they are quarantined, mandate by the president. It's called a shelter in. Now, they are allowed to go and do essential business, buy groceries, go to the doctor, do banking. That's it. They're also maintained to keep what they have coined as social distancing. That is, everybody has to maintain a 6 foot um, separation of one another. And so, with that, um, I believe we will start seeing this in all large populated areas. It will be a mandate. And I'm just going to take a wild guess here. Any area that has more than 150,000 people will probably endure this mandate. Now, in the San Francisco Bay Area, my brother was telling me that this is mandated to go until April 7th. It could be extended, but it will not be shortened. It will go to April 7th. Kind of interesting because Passover starts April 8th. And we know what Passover is, and that's the when the Israelites come out of Egypt. Now, God's calculated. Anyway, so with that said, what are we going to do about this? We're going to run around in fear and panic? No, absolutely not. First, make sure you have supplies in your home um, to last a month. Make sure you have those essentials. It doesn't mean go crazy and buy stupid stuff. Think about what you're going to need to survive, food and water wise, um, medical supplies, over the counter medical supplies, and and go buy them. Because here's what I see coming, and this is my own personal opinion based on what research I've done. They will mandate these shelter-ins across the United States and all large populated areas. If that does not slow down the infection rate of this virus, then we will see a more severe quarantine where you will not be allowed to leave your home under any circumstance outside of probably a medical emergency. here's an issue that most of us don't think about. Okay, we got food, we got water, we got all we need. The spirit and the mind um, here in America are not equipped to just sit in your home for a month. You're going to get what's called cabin fever um, severely when you're not allowed to leave your premises. Um, and that's something a lot of us don't think about. What are you going to do with your time for 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks? There's only so much Facebook you can scroll through. There's only so much Twitter you can play on. There's only so much Netflix you can binge watch. Um, what are you going to do? And when you get bored, you're going to want to eat more. Well, then that's going to diminish your supplies. So you don't want to do that. What are you going to do? How about you focus on God first and foremost? And we can do what I do. My daily reading plan is what I call the 10 Club. I got that from the recovery ministry that I ministered in. Um, and that is 10 chapters a day, 10 chapters of the Bible. Some of you heard me talk about it, but if not, let me explain it. You read 10 chapters a day. That's three chapters of the Old Testament, 3 chapters of the New, one Psalm, or 3 Psalms and 1 proverb. So you start in Genesis 1, read 1, 2, and 3. Go to Matthew, read 1, 2, and 3. Read Psalms, chapters 1, 2, and 3. And then whatever day the proverb is, read that. And then the next day, you just continue on with that. You read Genesis chapter 4, 5, and 6, Matthew 4, 5, and 6, Psalms 4, 5, and 6, the Psalm 18, and continue on. What this does is it first and foremost gives you a discipline, that you discipline yourself to spend time with Yah every day. Spend time with the Lord every day and give Him your time. And secondly, it gives you an overall understanding of who God is, His being, His essence, because you're reading the Old and the New. Nothing, we get so focused of uh, God's not like the Old Testament no more, so we don't have to read that, or we get so focused of we got to get this Old Testament so we can understand. This gives you an overall understanding of who the Lord is. You don't have to understand what you're reading. You don't have to stop and, well, I got to study this out. Just read it, get that in. Now, then, beyond the 10 chapters, you want to go study something? Absolutely. Like myself, after I read my 10, then I have my other studies that I have to do to get prepared for my message on Sunday, the videos I make. And so I read anywhere from sometimes 15, 20 chapters a day. Um, and so if and I work a 12-hour a day job, plus I go home and I own a business and I work another probably anywhere from 4 to 6, 7 hours there. I find time to read this. You can too. You just have to put your mind to it. So maybe you want to think about that. Get diligent. When your mind's focused on the Lord, He'll begin to work in your heart. I believe that this word is what transforms lives. It's not sermons. It's not teachings. It's the word of Yah. Jesus says, "Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yah." We discard that over and over again. You know, well, I'm just going to read them a couple of verses that make me feel good. Well, when you read it like this, you're going to run across stuff that doesn't make you feel good. It's going to frustrate you. As per like I say most times, blessings, encouragement, and frustration. Being diligent to this plan, you will go through the entire Bible, Genesis to Revelation, about 1.5 times per year. You'll read the entire Bible 1.5 times. And, when I get to the end of it, I just turn around and start right back over again. And I've been doing this for 7 years now. There's days you're going to miss it. There's days you're going to you're going to skip a few chapters. Don't try to catch up. Just continue where you left off. Because if you try to catch up after missing, you'll get overwhelmed. Just like our eating. If I miss lunch, I don't go to dinner and double up. No, I just eat. Same thing with the scriptures. Another thing you can do um, is you can take and like read the Old Testament in the morning, like you would eat breakfast. You can read Psalms at lunch, like you would eat lunch. In the New Testament, you can read it in the evening, like dinner, and then Proverbs can be your snack. You can do it that way. Um, Design your own way of doing it. But think about this, because you may be stuck in your home twiddling your thumbs, and believe me, minutes go by like hours when you don't have nothing to do. Um, I know this because back prior to Christ, prior to coming to the knowledge of truth, I got to spend a few trips at the old county jail. A couple of stints was 30 days. Um, in the first week or so ain't too bad because you catch up on rest and it's, oh, this ain't too bad. But then it begins to become monotonous every minute. You try to sleep through it, you can't. You try to, you know, try to keep your mind busy reading. Sometimes in the jail they'll give you something to read and they have TV, but most of the time that doesn't work, and you begin to go crazy. But if you got this, it will ease you and it will give you something to do. And then it will project you into, after this is all over with something that is tangible with God. Um, Before I give my message this last week, the Spirit was just really impressing upon me that my people do not want to spend time with me. Y'all's people don't want to spend time with Him these days. They're too busy, you know. Um, I want to hang on to that one bumper sticker verse and go with it. I want to go to church on Sunday on occasion, but don't go over 30 minutes on the message. I ain't got time for that. And that's the way our mindset is. Why do we act? Why are we like that? Um, I look forward to going home in the evening to seeing my family, and most of y'all do too. Why do we not look forward to spending time with Yah? He is the first and foremost in our life. Let me read Psalms chapter 127, starting verse 1. If Yahweh does not build the house, its builders labored in vain. If Yahweh does not guard the city, the watchman has stayed awake in vain. In vain do you rise up early, to set up late, to eat bread of toil, so he gives his beloved sheep. Look, children are an inheritance from the Lord. The fruit of the womb is a reward. As arrows in the hand of a mighty man, so are the children of one's youth. Blessed is the man who has filled his quiver with them. They are not ashamed when they speak with their enemies at the gate. All right. Man, God has to build our house. God has to be our foundation. Otherwise, everything's in vain. God has to guard our city. God has to be an integral part of our lives. Or you can sound the alarm that danger's coming all you want. There's no help. There's no help coming. You know, that's the basis of this verse. And then the children are an inheritance from the Lord. All right. I make God my first and foremost, and then I can do this in my home. I minister in my home next. That's the fruit. That's the inheritance that I will leave. The legacy that I will leave is that my children will grow up and they'll do the same. That's what we've lost in this culture. We don't minister to our homes first. We're too busy. I pray that this virus coming teaches a whole lot of people that have been so busy that we got to stop, take time for the Lord. Um, I hate it that people are getting sick. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like, woo, kill them all, let God sort them out. That's not what I'm saying, y'all. Sometimes we have to, sometimes something drastic and dramatic has to happen in our lives before we stop and realize that we have been doing it wrong. And here in America, we've been doing it wrong. So what I'm going to do on this channel is I'm going to do what we also call the 4 Club for those who are just starting out and they're like, can't do 10 chapters, it's too hard, whatever. So we cut them a break. All right, do four. Do four. One chapter new, one chapter old, one psalm, one proverb. Let that build you up into the 10 Club. So I'm going to do the 4 Club with y'all here on this channel. Starting here in a little bit, I'll stop and we'll read 4 chapters of the Bible. Not going to be a whole lot of commentary on it because I want y'all to understand. You just read this. You just got to get it in you. Then go do your studies. Then go do your, well, I want to really study on that. First and foremost, just read it and get it into you. Kind of like eating. You don't study what it is and stare at it and go, I wonder what the ingredient. No, you eat what's there. You know, that's what we're doing with the Bible. This is what we're going to learn. Because like I said, we're going to see the quarantine of major populated areas here across the United States to try to curb this. Now, after reading what I've read, I think this is a little more serious than a lot of us first initially thought. Um, Look at the demeanor on President Trump's face as he speaks today versus 2 weeks ago. It's totally different. A lot of the analysts that I listen to, a lot of the pastors that I listen to, um, they have they're taking this seriously now. And if people aren't taking this seriously, there's something wrong. They're not doing their diligent study on this. And so I don't want to scare y'all. I don't want to put in fear because we can't operate out of fear. It's what I was telling my wife this morning. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is peace. If we have knowledge and we have training and understanding, knowing that we're going to go into a situation and we know that we're knowledgeable, it's not near as fearful. If we don't know what's going on, we don't know how to do it, then it becomes fear, and fear drives us to do stupid things. Um, so we have to operate out of truth and understanding and faith, and then we can curb our fear. There's always going to be an element of fear when situations like this arise, but how do you handle it? So let's curb it the best we can by knowledge. Hosea 4:6 says, "My people perish for a lack of knowledge," and that's basically saying a lack of knowledge of Yah. Here in a little bit, I'll go ahead and post this video here. Y'all think about it, and then I'm going to start doing the 4 Club with y'all. And so, y'all be blessed, be encouraged, be frustrated, but stay sober, stay vigilant. For the enemy is the devil, and he seeks about like a roaring lion, whom he may devour. Be sober and be vigilant, y'all. This oilfield disciple, I will catch you on the next ride.